today's video, if you haven't noticed from the title and thumbnail, is we're going to talk about the Amazon Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but we're having some preamble.
But we're going to have some preamble. We'll talk about sometimes. Because, you know, that's what we do here at Notes. What we like to ramble a bit.
We learned that from our father, Shad.
We were title all the time, but it's the point of reference. We're already seeing, and we're seeing, like, if you look at science here, there's science here.
Yes, thank you, Shad.
Yes.
Amazon's new series. It's not going to be Lord of the Rings, though, is it? It's a prequel to the Lord of the Rings.
It's a fan fiction of Lord of the Rings.
Basically,
it's a woke fan fiction.
Yeah, woke fan fiction.
Yeah,
but why is it woke?
Why is it woke?
Yeah.
Okay, so why is it woke or why will it be woke?
Both.
Ask me one at a time.
Okay. Why is it woke?
Because the forces of Satan have gained powers within the media and other institutions, you know, government and corporate and all that. And we are seeing the end times come upon us. It's a slow build-up.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts by taking away the things that we want, like cool movies and stories that we like. And then eventually it slowly is now coming to taking away the things that we need. So we're in that nice little gradient right there, that transitional period. But why will it be woke?
Why will it be woke?
It's because it's made by Amazon. Yeah. So, we interrupt this program to have a change of plan. I don't know. Shad's here. That's
I'm
what's
here.
happening.
Here, talking about Lord of the Rings.
We're talking about the new Lord of the Rings series from Amazon.
Oh,
The
gosh.
fanfiction.
Like... Yeah, I've kind of given up all hope.
Yep. Give up all hope in media unless... And that way you won't be disappointed. You'll only be surprised pleasantly, you know?
I've seen some good artwork, but it doesn't mean spit.
Nathan was talking about tell him about the concept artist.
Oh yeah, they got the guy that did the movies to
Mm-hmm.
do a map for them for a little teaser.
Yeah.
And they're like, sweet, got your name in the articles. You can leave now. So he only did one map drawing
That's
for them.
so scummy.
And now he's gone.
And what were you saying about the creators of it? Saying what were they saying on Twitter?
The writers.
Yeah.
So they've worked on uncredited. They've been on some of the Star Trek scripts. I think they did maybe a Star Wars sequel, maybe just J.J. Abrams stuff. One thing that's never been published. But now they're going to be in charge of Lord of the Rings.
Didn't you say they had other things in their occupational history?
How can Amazon honestly give such a beloved but also high budget, high stakes property to amateurs? What is wrong with them?
That's what scares me the most about this, Shad, because it's the same with Cowboy Bebop. With the... It wasn't the script writer, it was the person that was in charge of, like, whatever.
Right. I can understand Cowboy Bebop, they're wrong, but I can understand that they had this incorrect attitude where it's just this weird Japanese cartoon, we'll just get someone to make it, right?
Yeah.
And they don't understand, you know, Asian culture, anime, or anything like that. But Lord of the Rings, you'd think they'd be far more aware of. Like, it's massive! You'd think they'd be treating this as like a sacred ground and with great amount of care and concern, and they'd be vetting anyone who has any input at all.
Yeah.
Well, they said this is spending so much money.
Oh, well, you know, I think
So
they
much money.
are vetting, but for the wrong things.
Yeah.
Do you have the right opinions?
The fact that they're not treating it with any amount of respect goes to show they have no respect for the source material.
But
It's
what doesn't make sense to me is they want this to be the biggest thing ever. They want it to be massive, bigger than
Yeah, no,
Game
no,
of Thrones.
it's the same-
But then they hire people who haven't done anything to begin with.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with Star Wars, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. It's just, we as a company have acquired this thing that makes tons of money. Now we're going to do our thing with it.
Yeah.
Let's bring in people who don't give a crap about it, or at the very least want to do self-insert characters and self-insert politics and self-insert, you know, whatever. It's the same thing every time. Commie subversion.
These people say they love these properties.
No.
Rafe said he loved Wheel of Time. Bull crap, how could you even claim that? Oh, you can, he's a liar, right? When he has just perverted so much for his own agenda, for his own fanfic, basically. And we're seeing this with Lord of the Rings. They want to insert their own fanfics, their own fantasies.
Yep. Have you heard the rumours?
I've heard some.
Archer's one. So apparently the show's going to follow not Isildur.
Oh, his
but
sister?
Isildur's sister. It's like Dean
Because we
Pelton.
can't. He's a straight white man. He can't be the hero.
It's like Dean Pelton said, "Oh, this is my sister's uniform." He doesn't have a sister. Anyway, yeah, you know, it's like
that right there is proof enough that this is going to be a dumpster fire. Like, I can't
well, it's a
stand
rumor
it.
for now. It's a
But
rumour.
well, yeah, hopefully it is a false rumor.
Watch it
But
become true.
yeah, right. That's what they did with the Wheel of Time. They can't have straight white men be the heroes.
Nope.
And so they have to have someone progressive. And if they are willing to literally just subvert so much of the original source material to their own agenda, they don't care about the source material. They don't love it.
They don't, yeah.
Okay. They care about their agenda and the message and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're trying to use a popular property to, get their message heard by them and ruining it in the process.
Well, they'll put it into anything they can.
Like,
Absolutely, they will.
yeah, they don't they do not understand much about storytelling. These writers. When I'm looking at Wheel of Time, but also we've seen the Signs of the Lord of the Rings because they didn't understand, progression, investment, pacing. It's just
The key moments you wanted to see as a book reader.
Yeah, they didn't understand what the fans were wanting, and even the stuff that they made up themselves and they injected into it was also crap.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not about money. It's about sending a message. They will burn everything.
well, the thing is, I think there is a money component. Cowboy Bebop was cancelled for a reason.
Yeah, no. They don't set out with the intention to make a good story.
Well, no, at the moment, all the streaming services, Amazon, Disney, Netflix, just want content.
Yeah.
The more content they have, the more value they can say is in their service over others. It doesn't matter if the content's good, because this is the reality, right? Most people only watch 1 or 2 shows on their given streaming service, and all the other content doesn't mean spit to them. But the content is what attracts people. They have all these trailers of all these shows. You're just realizing this.
I only watched 2 shows. One at work, one at home.
Exactly, right?
This is why you should be like me and sail the seas of Paris. Jump on board, matey.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Don't pay for...
Just digitize them. And
You're not losing money.
Yeah, I still think there's a great value in owning the physical things, because that means they can't change stuff.
Yeah, sure, the physical stuff. Like, I bought
yeah,
all
they
of
can't
Breaking
remove
Bad.
episodes for being problematic.
Or edit the problematic elements in episodes on the fly, because you don't technically own anything that you stream. You're in a rental agreement, basically.
Yeah.
And which companies also do that when you pay for it? That's like when you buy something on a game service, right? And then they can ban you from the game forever because you're not technically buying the game, you're only buying access to it or something like that. So interesting thing, just on if you want another aspect to the whole downloading content and everything, I could speak pretty openly about something. So I have digital products online. My novel is in ebook and audiobook, both digital products. And when you publish an ebook, you have an option of putting piracy protection on the format.
And you chose no.
I chose no. Because...
you didn't want to get me in trouble because I uploaded it.
No. One of the reasons it's actually interesting is that allowing people to essentially pirate my own work actually helps promote it, because people who do legitimate... One, it gives access to the book to an audience who would, especially people who don't have the money, who would not have been able to access it beforehand. And so... that can increase your reader base, and then they promote the book if they like it, okay? And then that gives high chance of people buying it. And people who did have the ability to buy it, but got it in other means, if they like it, they usually go out of their way to buy it anyway to show support. And then they try and promote it and other things like that. And so I actually chose to allow it, understanding there's a system. There's a system in the world, and understanding that there's actually beneficial elements to it.
Yep.
I'm not promoting anything. I'm saying this is an individual, what I chose to do myself. So screw you if you try and say I'm promoting anything. Okay, I'm not.
Well, with marketing, with any product, it's its own market, like in a micro way. And you're just marketing yourself by giving that for free. Makes perfect sense.
I'm not going out of my way to prevent it. And man, so I have alerts on my book just because I like to see reviews pop and everything like that. And it's interesting when I get an alert, it was like, download Shadow the Conqueror and stuff. And I've never gone after any of these sites or anything,
You might, because they'll be giving people tons of viruses. Anyway, can we get back to Hell World?
I guess so.
So, just like we all loved Lord of the Rings, okay, except my mum, for some reason. She never gave it a chance. Yeah. Anyway, they're taking something we love again, and they're going to destroy it again. And once they're done with it, they're going to sit on the rights for a few years, then sell it off again.
I don't know. I think they're going to keep animating the corpse and trying to get whatever. Because this is one of the issues, right? The movies are so great that even if this one bombs, if they make a new Lord of the Rings something, they'll still try and benefit off the success and love of the original series.
Yes.
And they can pretend we're going to do it right this time, or it's going to... And so it's a property they'll milk forever now.
Yeah.
Now that they're starting to make additional... Because this is the thing, you know why?
Why?
Because of The Hobbit. The Hobbit movies are bad, and they made so much money.
Yeah, it's not Thingo's fault. I don't blame Thingo.
What?
Peter Jackson.
I don't blame him. He had no time. They just brought him in. Everything was rushed. It had to be CG for a reason. You know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually watched... So Peter Jackson posted a lot of, I guess, the making of, and he's got these really detailed behind-the-scenes making of the Hobbit things, and they are fascinating, engaging watches. They go for almost 50 minutes to an hour each, and oh my goodness, the work that goes into making a film like that is unbelievable. It's staggering how serious those films are, and so I can't deny the effort that put into it. But unfortunately, it still fails. They're not good movies.
I have a prediction for this first season of Lord of the Rings. I think they're going to have so many things in it that are like openly, like everyone that watches it will be like, "What were you thinking?" Right? And then in season 2, they will change some of those complaints, but then insert new things that are like, "Just what are you thinking?" And they'll
Really, because that's kind of what I've heard they're trying to do with The Witcher.
Yeah.
I haven't finished The Witcher season 2.
We spotted them though.
But they took away some big complaints of Witcher season 1. The inconsistent timelines.
Yep.
They've gotten rid of that. They've gotten rid of the scrotum armor.
Begrudgingly, they did. Yeah.
Begrudgingly, right? But they are probably keeping other woke stuff. I've heard... These are the rumors. I haven't finished the series, but they make the show more about Ciri and Yennefer.
Absolutely.
And Witcher. See, what a disappointment.
But also, like, you know how they in the first season they race changed Triss, right? In this one, they keep the same actress, but they attempt to race change her back.
They give her white face.
Yeah, and also they've done the same with an elf queen, Francesca, where like she's pale skinned in the show and like
I
green
can't wait
eyes.
to see that.
Yeah, and then when you look at her IMDb, she's a brown girl.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
she's beautiful, but she's they've just.
That's
Anyway.
so bizarre. It's like this demonstrates that they they don't have any conviction in this thing, right? They're only doing it because they thought it was a gravy train to appease the mobs that were pushing for it.
It's a vehicle for their politics.
It shows that these people are just sellout husks who actually have no moral compass. This is what I've realized about Disney. Disney doesn't care about any morals. They care about making money. And they will do whatever they think makes money, and they make mistakes by going all woke and crap. But what's hilarious about Disney, right, is that they have this display of, "Look, we're in, we promote people's rights and everything," but then we will film in China in a province that is literally enslaving minorities of people.
And then thank the camp for letting them film
And
it.
And like,
Thanks, Nazis!
that concentration camp in China, wasn't it they literally sterilizing the male population?
Oh, they're doing lots of things.
it
Probably
was
lots of stuff we don't even know.
horrific crimes against humanity. Disney and they have like high up Disney employees that operate in China that are members of the Chinese Communist Party, right?
Then got John Cena.
And then, so you support those, human rights, don't you, Disney? You bloody hypocrites. And so, just like with Disney, same with
Amazon.
yeah.
As above, so below.
Well, because this is where it reflects on The Witcher, right? If they really believed in giving the representation and stuff, they wouldn't be whitewashing these actors.
They don't want representation, they want the appearance of representation.
Yeah, right.
It's all surface level, all of it.
I wonder what the actresses felt like. We're just gonna give you some makeup or help with the lighting a bit.
Lighter foundation. We're gonna put your hair. It's black. We're gonna make it a bit more red.
Yeah, and we're going to straighten it out too.
Yeah.
Did they straighten it?
Oh yeah, man. Like literally straight.
But I thought she's supposed to have curly hair.
Not like that. It's not meant to be puffy curly. You know?
Okay.
It's meant to be straight curly, like European curly.
Okay.
Can I in this video talk about the ESG thing?
All right. Well,
I'll explain to people why.
Oz has this
Conspiracy.
It's not
confirmed.
I haven't confirmed it, right? But Oz has some information about a kind of like an agreement.
It's a credit ranking system.
A credit ranking system And all right, well, you explain it.
Okay, so there's this thing called ESG, which stands for Economic, Sustainable, Social Governance. Now, when they say social, they mean social justice, right? So basically, every company on this planet has an ESG rating.
Who assigns this ESG rating?
I'm not sure. I didn't get that deep in the rabbit hole, but I know that it's held up by people like Deutsche Bank, Citibank Group, stuff like that. And so basically, your company has to be woke in terms of who's at the helm of leadership, what your business practices are, who they impact, stuff like that.
Okay, can I interject, right? I am not down the rabbit hole as far as you.
Glenn Beck
and I haven't. Yeah, so I haven't confirmed any of this. We would encourage everyone to confirm anything we say. Don't take anything we say.
We're not news.
Yeah, right. The thing is, though, I obviously would never put it past people who have invested interests in the things that they are investing money into, and then getting the ability to influence and manipulate certain messaging angles of depiction and stuff like that, right?
Like, I can't tell you, what institution and what paragraph and subsection all that made this thing, right? But when I was reading it, said this was made by the UN, this whole system. And so basically they
see, funny, that wouldn't surprise me. The UN is an awful institution.
Yep.
Hang on, because don't they have? Didn't the UN bring on like horrible dictators and stuff?
They brought Russia and China and Saudi Arabia onto the Human Rights Council.
Human Rights Council.
Get Stalin in there too. Why don't
you? Just to appreciate the irony in that. Human rights.
Yeah.
And have a look at the human rights in China.
They gave Russia veto status as well, which I mean.
And then haven't they like barred people, addressing the UN and stuff for like?
I don't know about that stuff. I just know that they've got a lot of pots with their fingers in it, and they're all bad pots that we don't want to come to pass, but our leaders do. Anyway, so yeah, it's basically. This is why get woke, go broke doesn't apply anymore, and never kind of did in the first place.
I still think it does to an extent, because we do see examples of it, like box office bombs and things that they don't renew or continue the franchises because they were so bad.
But the money that we can offer as consumers is pittance to what the money the big banks offer them to do this stuff. Oh, you need a loan fund? Here you go, $100 million, problem solved. That you lost $600 million in Marvel? Oh, sorry, no worries. Here's some money.
Well, it's funny. I was going to say loans should, are supposed to be repaid, but I mean,
no, they don't want to repay the loans. They want the debt.
Well, it's interesting how economics works in regards to benefiting off debt. So.
Yep. So yeah, basically, here's an example, right? Nike. You know the company Nike? Who doesn't know Nike? They're not woke. They're not progressive at all. On the surface, they say, we're all about progressivism, but they're not. They have slaves.
Slave labor, and it's a bit of hyperbole. I mean,
sorry, they rent the slaves from the Chinese government.
But in terms of the conditions, the wages, and stuff like that, we in the modern Western world, we would consider it almost a type of slave labor. Like
they have nets.
Yeah, that Chinese factory. Yeah. That if you work for us, we provide your accommodation. And the accommodation is like awful, right? And they literally have suicide nets around those accommodations to prevent. Well, not prevent, but to catch people who try and commit suicide. That's how a regular occurrence it was.
Would you like to know the ultimate... it's not a conspiracy theory, they say it. That's what they want to do to us in the Western world.
The pods,
That's the pods. That's the everything from the... Anyway, so yeah, Nike is like, I think it's 75 on this scale. So SpaceX, SpaceX? Or is it Tesla? It's either SpaceX or Tesla, right? I can't remember which one it was, but they don't use, foreign-made cheap slave labor, right? It's mostly American stuff, and it's all in Texas, all renewable stuff as much as they can. Very environmentally conscious. They've got a 7 because Elon Musk owns the libs on Twitter. So it's all about optics. That's all it is.
We encourage you to double check this. Anything that we say. So you say Glenn Beck has done it.
Glenn Beck did a great video on it. Arch did as well, and there's a small bit. This is what got me onto it. I was watching a stream with Arch and Sargon talking about Warhammer. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh yeah, here's this thing." And
there are people who are very invested in trying to manipulate the course and state of society to a thing that they think is beneficial, a utopia for mankind. And they will invest large amounts of money to try and push and manipulate the world into that way. It does happen. Just look at how, investment stuff works with... And it is interesting that so many woke projects are being pushed through, but there's already blacklisting in Hollywood if you voice certain opinions and stuff. We see it on Twitter. There's pretty overt signs about the manipulation that's happening to try and suppress certain, opinions and push other ones. And I wouldn't put it past people who have a lot of influence and power to try and manipulate the course of society into the way that they want. That could be having their fingers in certain pies that have the ability to affect stuff.
He who controls the past controls the future, and he who controls the present controls the past. And that's just, So it is interesting because I don't think they would ever succeed. I think they could do a lot of damage, but they will fail. They will ultimately evil does fail.
Yes.
Good will win because good is truth and evil is lies.
Mm-hmm.
And if warfare is about, what is it? Whoever can use their resources better. Well, truth is a self-renewing resource.
Mm-hmm.
Lies have to be constructed. It takes effort. So truth will win.
And, just like if you want a TV series, which is a brilliant one that was made in the modern day, which is just shocking, that has this powerful message about lies and truth, Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, Chernobyl's a good one.
And, there's that, at the very end of the series, the viewpoint character talks about what the cost of lies.
Yep.
Oh, it's powerful.
Every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth, and one day the debt has to be paid.
Oh, it's powerful stuff.
Well,
really, really good.
Yeah.
And see, this is Chernobyl is an amazing show. How did that get made? Is it because HBO just, I don't know,
It did have some woke stuff, a few things.
Not many, but
here and there.
The fact that, it was very honest and amazingly how it depicted communism and the Soviet Union at the time. And I was also shocked at how, accurate many aspects were.
Yeah.
And the fact that they would literally deny blatant truth because the party, the state, said otherwise, and the state can't be wrong. It's amazing. Watch Chernobyl. It's incredible. I saw graphite. No, you didn't. That's impossible. A MKV something reactor cannot explode. It's impossible. If you are seeing signs of an explosion, you're simply wrong because the Soviet Union can't make a reactor that can explode.
Those reactors were safe and effective. Okay? So if you question that, you're against the party.
And it's incredible. They have Chernobyl is made off of many eyewitness statements, and they recreate many things, and people going and seeing the open reactors, the reactor is open. No, it's not. And it's I saw it, you're delirious. Take him away. It's incredible.
You're delusional. Get rid of him. Man.
The disdain and denial of the truth because they were pushing towards a utopia ideal, that a state of society. We are seeing recreations of that in the modern day.
Well, as bad as communism and Chernobyl was, right? It did make a lot of great memes from that TV show. When your reactor reaches its 5-year energy plan in 5 nanoseconds. I love that, man. Oh man! Instant suntan. Just go stand by the reactor.
So I want to start making a list of some of the most phenomenal modern media that's been made, because everyone says that we hate everything. There are so many things that are phenomenal, and I would put Chernobyl, Death of Stalin, Arcane, SG-1. There's heaps of...
I'd put Carnival Row on that too.
Carnival,
even though
I
it is a lefty show.
But definitely Community. There's so many good things, less in nowadays, but you find these diamonds in the rough, and when you do, I just appreciate them so much.
Yeah. Let's keep a running tab then.
Well, we should make a list. After this, I'll get one of you guys to start writing it down, and then we'll just copy paste that. Whatever says, you guys just hate us. It's here's a list of great stuff.
Yeah, take that, liberals, atheists. Anyway, but so me and Nathan today, while doing research for this video, I stumbled across the Tolkien Society essay seminar in 2020.
So I've watched a video. I think it was done by Carl, maybe on Lotus Eaters, where they just go through headlines of this. It is so bad.
But the headlines...
I don't think I don't have the strength, Oz.
You
Don't
think
do
the
it.
headlines are bad, dude?
Don't do it to me, Oz.
No, here's the thing, right? So, it's liberals, so... They have to. They're worse than you when it comes to preamble, Shad. It's like it's entirely preamble. Okay, like in the first 4 minutes, I watched 4 minutes and 30 seconds. In this 4 minutes and 30 seconds, she spends the first 2 minutes being like, "Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm not going to say. I'm not going to go here. I'm not going to make these assumptions. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm not going to tell you what he meant." And she does all of that in the next 2 minutes.
Okay.
She breaks it all instantly.
So there is this kind of notion that's being proposed by Razorfist Arc about gatekeeping, like gatekeeping the gatekeepers and stuff like that, right? Yeah. I agree in the sense that if you see people trying to destroy something that is good, subvert or anything, the only way to really stop it is to do a bit of gatekeeping. And when I see what these people are trying to twist Lord of the Rings into, to me it's like those people, they like. Those essays, like, they need to be laughed at. I don't know. How can...
Well, how can you laugh at them when they're comments and likes?
It seems like they're trying to take ownership of Lord of the Rings, and these essays are legitimately trying to twist Lord of the Rings into this perverted narrative that they're trying to push forward, and try and say this is Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
We can't let them do that.
Yeah.
And the way we do it is, I guess, by denying it, saying you're full of crap.
Yep.
What you're saying is no.
I just identify them as commies. I did it in Discord. You know, I'm doing my part. You can see the way they talk, and it's like, boom, I spotted you. I'm a hunter killer drone. I see you. You know.
It's funny whenever we say that because the new people coming to the channel, they don't understand the connections, the literal ideological connection in what they're doing.
You don't see it until it sees you.
So, man, they. Watch the Yuri Bezmenov.
You can't even get to that point to understand the problem.
But what's great about Yuri Bezmenov? He is from the Soviet Union, and he explains the Soviet Union tactics to subvert Western nations, right? And it's the generational warfare tactics. There's not hot warfare with explosions, where the purpose of it is to try and undermine and subvert the ideals that this country is built upon, with the ideals. They're not like, because these people on the Lord of the Rings doing all that stuff, they're not trying to say, go communism. Some are, actually, but some people are just trying to say the other more accepted talking points, representation, inclusion.
Well, they say that capitalism is evil and racist. And if they're anti-racist, then they're anti-capitalism. Then what's the opposite of that?
That's pretty face off. And when they say, how can you call these people communists? Look at
just using...
They almost admit it. Some literally do admit it.
Like, if you see a bunch of dominoes standing up right next to each other, it's a logical assumption, But, like... You can't know until it's happened to you. Like, you can't get... It's like Morpheus said. No one can be told what it is. You have to see it for yourself.
Well, that's one of the purposes of this channel. I think we've been able to reveal what's happening to a lot of people who love Wheel of Time. And because Wheel of Time, it's interesting. A lot of people went in, they're wanting to like the show is garbage, and then they're wanting to ask, why is it so bad? It's a very clear reason and answer why it's so bad. And then that kind of, exposes people to what's happening in society. Like, that's the subversion that they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to take away normal, classic, wholesome, old school, ideals and stuff.
Why though?
And change it. Well, it's interesting. One of the philosophies. So if you want to look at the philosophies that they're trying to push in this subversive tactics, and you'll see it in modern media, Wheel of Time and other things, is they're trying to make people's mindset prioritize the group over the individual. These are fundamental ideologies that they're trying.
So.
All right, and so
which is the basis of
they
fascism.
want you to identify with the group. The group is sovereign, not the individual.
Well,
no, because this is what there are multiple philosophies that they're trying to push, but they're all interrelated because that's a very fundamental one. Okay,
but okay, this might be a bit spicy, but it's an actual question. Where's the group for white people then? They've placed us in the category of racist.
That's when intersectionality comes in, because they only want to privilege the oppressed, and that's the oppressed narrative, okay, which is very Marxist. All right, is that oppressor versus oppressed, and they're trying to vilify, create these oppressors by pointing out who are the bad, right, to create a type of class warfare. All right, and then the oppressed, how do they get liberated? By giving someone power to liberate them and stuff. And so
It doesn't work like that.
well, yeah, exactly, right?
You liberate yourself, no one can do it for you.
That's one of the philosophies. The other philosophy, justifying the outcome versus the means.
Yeah.
All right. So it's the classic, what's the saying? The ends do not justify the means.
Yeah.
Well, they want the ends to so that you can justify any action to achieve the ultimate utopia you're going for. That means lying's okay, cheating, stealing, murder, horrible things.
Torturing people for no reason other than you have to that night, you know?
And that's a philosophy that you see pushed quite a lot. And it's funny, did we see that philosophy in Wheel of Time?
Yeah.
I would Moraine willing to murder people for the outcome, willing to do genuinely immoral things.
But my son.
My son. You know what Solzhenitsyn said? He said, the ends don't justify the means justify the ends.
Another one is wanting equality of outcome over equality of opportunity. That everyone has to have the same at the end of the day, and which is completely contrary to the notion of freedom and meritocracy.
Yeah.
Okay? I actually don't think now, I'm not saying everyone's lazy. I think there are people who are legitimately disabled and have difficulty and everything. They do need to be supported. I believe in charity, okay? What I don't believe is that in lazy people, getting a free ride to be given as much as people who work hard and are industrious and everything. And I have to say, a lot of people who I see supporting Marxist ideology tend to be very lazy people who just want to be given a free ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get jealous because they see all these people. Now, I admit, there are people who have a lot that were given it for free, and you could say technically doesn't deserve it, but I think it's every parent's right to give to their children if they worked hard and produced means and everything like that, to pass it on to their children. But a lot of these issues, there are generational riches that get passed on and on and on that can create classes and stuff, and then you see people who don't have enough looking at people who do have enough, and see how it's related, because the equality of outcomes is also related to the class warfare and everything, but it also is related to group, privileging, prioritizing the welfare of the group over the individual and stuff. And so then you have these groups, the wealthy, the poor, but also the oppressed, and then you have the minorities. And so all these philosophies are actually very tightly interwoven, and these are the philosophies that is actually fundamental to the concept of communist subversion, because they're the fundamental foundation of what communism is built upon. And these are the philosophies that we're seeing pushed in Wheel of Time and all these other things.
But why do you think they're doing it?
Well, they honestly believe in a lot of it.
Yeah, I know, but the people who actually believe it, they're useful idiots.
On the surface, there's this nice talking point. But imagine a world where everyone is equal.
No, that's awful, because no one is equal.
Well, that's the thing. People don't understand the reality, but they try and hide it behind these flowery talking points.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if everything was equal, to enforce that is a complete nightmare scenario. Like you're taking away people being able to produce based on their own merit to be able to enforce.
You're going against the laws of nature.
Well, again, I believe in charity. I believe helping out people who are, having a hard time. I don't believe giving things to people that don't deserve it. Okay, and when you see people who are lazy that just don't anymore, what I believe in is teaching them to work hard and actually have a good, productive frame of mind. And so the philosophy that I want to talk a little bit about more, which I think is a very fundamental one, is the group over the individual. Okay, because by making the group sovereign and not the individual, this is one of the fundamental things that leads to the ends can justify the means, because it is a way of being able to dehumanize people by only prioritizing the group. You are one of us, and if you're not one of us, well, then you're my enemy, okay? That can't happen if you're always prioritizing the sovereignty of the individual. Regardless of who they are, their sex, their race, or anything like that, you look at them as an individual. And this is actually one of the fundamental things in Christian religions, okay? Every individual person is a child of God and must be considered that and be regarded with love and compassion, because no matter what they've done in life, they're still a child of God, and you need to look at them in that light, which means if you follow that philosophy, it's impossible to dehumanize them, and you always need to consider them. And there's great messages like hate the sin but love the sinner. All right, do we see that if you transgress the group, you're excommunicated, you're out of the group, you are less valued to the point where you're an enemy, and it's no loss if your life is gone, because only those in the group are who is important.
And then you get into the purity cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, who's next on the chopping block? You know, oh, they're dead now. Next person.
Yeah.
And on it goes.
Yeah, and so it's such a fundamental frame of mind of how you look at just society if you are focusing on the group or the individual. It's so contrasting one or the other, and it's so interesting how these separate philosophies are. You can see exactly how they sprout off from each mindset.
Well, I think communism and what we would call modern day liberalism, which is not very, you know, but you know what I mean, right? Progressivism is satanic. Satanically influenced.
So people might not understand this, right?
Yeah.
In Christian theology, it actually is. Remember how I said that Christian is the sovereignty of the individual, you're a child of God? Mm-hmm. There was a council in heaven before we came to it. Now, different Christian denominations have different interpretations of the council in heaven. We are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But if you're just interested academically about this, okay, when people call it satanic, all right? The plan that Satan proposed to God before he came to earth was actually the concept that is very related and almost fundamentally the same as certain philosophies in communism. One was, and this is coming more related to our own specific faith, but I actually have seen other Christian faiths echo this same interpretation of the Council of Heaven, that basically when Lucifer proposed his plan to God, he said, I will be the Savior, the Son of God, all will be redeemed, no one will be lost. But to do that, he needed to take away their agency and ability to choose between right and wrong, and he would essentially be forcing them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is that, for instance, like, let's look at helping the unfortunate. Pay
taxes.
So in socialism and communism, they're like, all right, there are the oppressed group. We will take all of the people's, you know, the wealthy and everything, all their means, and force it and then redistribute it to the unfortunate. You do not have a choice.
Yeah.
We will hold a gun to your head and force you to do it. And so this is enforcing a morality against people as well. Yeah. Now, it is good to give to the poor. But as soon as... Sorry?
We do have to actually, like when people say, oh, where in the Quran does it say this? Here's where it says in the Communist Manifesto, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. So there you go. And also, you know, public property, no one will own anything, stuff like that.
Redistribution of wealth.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental philosophy in communism, okay?
Yeah.
And so it is essentially enforcing a morality and not giving people a choice to do it.
Yeah.
That is the same philosophy that Lucifer had in the pre-earth life. That is literally the satanic model. And the thing is, by enforcing morality and not allowing people to choose, they do not then deserve any reward at all for doing the right thing because they didn't choose to do it. And his plan, by doing that, was to prevent anyone from progressing and achieving the blessings that God had. He wanted the power of God, and then he wanted to prevent anyone else from having the same privileges and powers that he had.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you can kind of see also the leaders in communism preventing anyone from living as well as them and stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what Stalin did? He gulagged and killed all the doctors in Moscow because they might have been a threat to him. He did it with radio hosts, people who were red, you know? Like, it's just...
So
same thing.
When you hear Christians say that communism and things like that is satanic, they're not just saying it because this mindless... Some people actually, I do feel that. It's like, you're evil, you're satanic, everything like that. But when Oz or me references something like that, it's actually because there is fundamental philosophy that is exactly in line with Lucifer's philosophy in the pre-earth life. And so... Yeah.
Like, as in the core tenet and belief system, they line up perfectly.
Yeah. And so the way that, you know, Jesus Christ and God actually intended was for individuals to choose of their own accord to give of their means to the people that need it.
Yeah.
All right? unfortunately, there will be people who choose not to do that, but they need the choice. That's the fundamental thing. And forcing someone to do a good is actually a greater evil than the evil you're trying to prevent in forcing them to do good in the first place. That's an underlying fundamental philosophy that's very much like underpinning my Christian philosophy and religious belief, and other Christian philosophies I've also seen mirror this understanding. Not all Christian things, but that's so important. And so the fact that there are people who are trying to force people to do good according to their understanding, you must use the right pronouns. If you don't, we will like.
Oh, but it's like that's just one of the things.
That's just one.
It's literally every other core of their belief. Now it's climate change.
Well, look, look, like you can make a list. There's the pronouns, there's climate change, but there's also taxation, there's welfare programs, there's all these things are forcing the world and others to do good according to their mindset. And in some cases, the thing that they actually are wanting to do to help unfortunate is good, but it's the forcing other people to do it, which is the evil.
Well, to be fair though, right? When they say, okay, we're going to help people with this, their solutions always benefit them more than anyone else.
That's the other thing. Like, because when you take centralized authority to redistribute wealth to help the unfortunate, it's reliant on people, and people are corruptible.
Even just the modern government we have today.
And that the astounding incompetence and waste in like the Soviet Union and nearly every system that tried to implement this is just disgusting.
We're seeing it in our modern governments that we live under right now. Nathan was telling me something. Nathan, what was the thing you were telling me? They're getting rid of like 66% of...
Oh, yeah. In Victoria now, with like industries and stuff, like industrial workers, 60% can be male, but you have to have 40% female.
And they will fire men to achieve that.
So if you have too many men in your workforce, you've got to fire a few to level it out.
And ready? What philosophies are we seeing being enacted with that? Prioritizing group, equality of outcome over equality of opportunity. And because I'm tired, I wish I even wrote those down because I could list like, and there's this one as well. The ends are justifying the means, so they're willing to discriminate against people to achieve the outcome that they're trying to engineer. Like, they're willing to commit evils, legitimate evils, discrimination, to achieve the outcome that they want. Okay?
And they're just shooting themselves in the foot because you're going to have less workers, make less money, pay less taxes, and the industry is going to die.
And again,
they know this.
Yeah.
And again, the reason why many Christians will call this satanic, this is actually the satanic philosophy that Satan, Lucifer, wanted to achieve good through horribly immoral and evil means. Okay? And so again, the philosophy that the ends justify the means, he was even more evil because the ends that he was trying to achieve was actually something that would damn everyone except himself, and he would be able to subvert the throne of God and become an icon. So he actually, it was even worse. But again, philosophies, underlining fundamental philosophies. Now, you don't have to agree with our religious beliefs, but look at the underlying philosophy, okay? And truly, unless you acknowledge the sovereignty of the individual, you will run into such problems if you start to prioritize the group over individuals. And that's where you run into some massive, massive problems.
Yeah.
And that's what the fundamental philosophies of communism are. And we also see it in socialism. And so when I'm glad we got onto this more deeper discussion, but it explains when Oz, he goes off half-cocked a lot when he's like, it's communist subversion and stuff.
Half-cocked?
No, full-cocked. Is that what you're...
I like it.
You got lots of...
Double the cock.
Yeah, and so there's reason to when we say things. And the thing is, though, we'll get new viewers that when we say them in the future, they're not going to say, maybe we'll just be able to link to this video.
Yeah.
It's like...
But hey, I do have one gripe that I want to picture you on camera.
Okay.
Like, I was at your level at one point. Like, maybe even a year ago, 2 years ago, right? Probably a year ago. It was that recent, right? But... just as their beliefs, like, we're doing it for these reasons, like, even you've just perfectly laid out their belief system, right? They don't see it as evil, they see it as good, right?
Yeah.
That's all surface level. They tell themselves they believe that, but they don't. So for us to attack their surface level reasons isn't actually attacking the problem.
Yeah, because you actually feel it's about power. Like, they want to oppress the oppressors. Like, it's more about revenge.
It's about vengeance and personal gain.
Yeah, there is a deeper, more corrupted motive behind what they propose
Absolutely.
as the good thing. And I actually see that as well. And we see it very manifest when there are certain groups pushing for certain outcomes, equality, but then what they actually are pushing for in results is not equality, they want supremacy. We see it in modern day feminism, okay? They don't want to lift men who are disadvantaged in regards to women. They're happy with those disadvantages to stay in place. They want men who, in all the areas in which men are disadvantaged in society, they want that to remain the same, and they only want to elevate women in the areas they feel they're oppressed, and then leave the outcome. And if that outcome is the same, well, that means men will remain oppressed and women will be empowered. And they've done this so many times and admitted it so many times, like the feminist monopoly thing, where they give the 200 to pass and go only to women and not to men. Okay, we see it with the job, things where they demand a certain quota for women in certain sectors, but not in collecting bins or plumbing or all the...
We saw it in the Soviet Union when they had arrest quotas and would grab you off the street and say, hey, confess to this crime and implicate as many people as you know as possible, and we won't stop torturing you until you do.
Yeah, and so if it was about equality, then they would actually be trying to make it equal, but they're not. They're like, and Wheel of Time is another expression of this, because look what they did to the male characters versus the female characters. They didn't want the male characters to shine they didn't want the female characters to shine as much as the male. They wanted the female characters to be the sole ones, and they actually went out of their way to reduce the role of the male characters and their heroic actors, everything like that, to their point that they're side characters that aren't even likable. They do nothing really useful in the whole show, and it's all about the female. And so, if it was about equality, where's the equality? And so that's the sign of that. These statements of it being they want equality, they want all those things, right? Is actually a smokescreen to something actually that's unfortunately far more human, and it's power and revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can either have I think that's why I think the choice is the divine spark, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a choice, you're down there, you're with the beast, Anyway, but this is the thing. I think they are going to fail because it happened before. Look, the communists had the exact same principles. And they still failed.
Yeah,
right?
the system doesn't
they're winning
work.
now,
Well,
surprisingly,
but when
they won't win eventually.
like they have means to wrest control of power, but the system is inherently flawed because people are flawed. I think
The system itself
I
is
think humanity would be able to achieve a utopia if all people were moral and chose it of their own free will. You can't forcibly impose it, but because people are flawed, the only way you even get close is to forcibly impose it. But to do that, you need full control over everything, which is inherent with corruption. You can't avoid it. It's always going to be there. And
There's only one man who can bring about utopia. Please hurry.
Exactly. And so there we
Wasn't
go.
this about Lord of the Rings?
It was, but that's.
What time is
Look at the messaging they're going to push in Lord of the Rings, though. Like, if you think we're full of crap, all right, pay attention to Lord of the Rings. If I'm wrong, but look, if you think we're full of crap, just look at Wheel of Time. We already have the proof, okay? But these are the warning signs we're seeing in regards to the Lord of the Rings, where they're prioritizing the same philosophy. Group, okay? They're justifying certain things to achieve the outcome that they want. They're wanting to push these philosophies. And if they don't, they might, they're saying they're not supporting communism. It's the philosophies that we're identifying here that we're already seeing warning signs that the show is pushing. That's why we say it's communist subversion, because...
Yeah, and when we say it's communist subversion, we say it's satanic influence. That's what we mean, essentially. Because it is.
So all the dots now are connected. Now you understand when Oz says it's a commie, now you know it's connected.
Evil is evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we shouldn't bargain with it. We should destroy it. Well, when it gets to that.
This was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it was. I didn't think it was going to go here. I mean, I kind of did, but... I mean, we still don't know. We don't have a trailer. We don't have an actual working title for the show yet either. But it's coming out this year.
Oh, I mean, like I said, warning signs. They had the character that this was supposed to be built around, Isildur.
Yep.
But no. They've made a sister.
Yeah.
It's a rumor. We're wrong, because if this rumor is correct, they made a sister, and then we can identify the philosophies, right? They want to give the main role to someone who is oppressed, so they have the oppressed narrative, and they're trying to fight back against the oppressor, and they're going to denigrate anyone that they identify as the oppressor, right? And then they want equality of outcome and anything like that, but then they're not going to actually have equality. We'll see how prominent the female characters are versus the male characters and everything like that. And this is the thing, right? I should also preface this. I don't mind if a show has preference or screen time to more than one gender than the other. My issue is if there is a subversive reason behind it, they're trying to do it to push agendas. Because I think men should have their shows, women should have their shows. Like, yes, Pride and Prejudice is mostly about the women. Awesome. And by the way, it's a great book series. There's a reason why it's one of the best books ever written. Okay. Yeah. So
I've got my predictions about the show.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have incredibly weak villains. It's going to have...
I think my prediction is they're going to try and make the goblins or orcs somewhat sympathetic or understandable.
Yeah, and just to be clear, guys, we don't actually believe that orcs are in any way related or meant to be a... What's the word? A synonym?
Related to any minorities that might exist in the real world.
Yeah.
They're
their
a fantasy creature.
Yes.
Yeah. The Haradrim from the south, they were evil, though.
Yeah.
They were basically the Persians of that world. Anyway, it was extra credits and the lefties that keep saying that. So,
which is really racist, by the way.
Yeah.
Showing what they're seeing in orcs. And
well, I mean, the Democrats were the KKK party back in the day, and they still
Let's
are.
make our prediction pretty strong. So your prediction was...
Weak character...
one main one.
Oh, one main one?
One main one.
A story that makes no sense.
All right, look,
No stakes.
To me, I think that's low-hanging fruit. It's going to be pretty... Is there more... Because I'm going to go for a more specific prediction, which I hope I'm wrong.
Okay.
We hope we're wrong
Here's
on all
my
these.
specific prediction.
Okay.
It'll have exactly the same problems as Wheel of Time and The Witcher and every other woke thing that comes out. Because they always have the arrogance of making the villains weak because they're so strong, right? They always have the...
Or they're either caricatures, which are just like mustache curly things, or like caricatures of certain things that they feel
But they're all
bad.
weak. Like, look at Valda, look at Kylo Ren, look at the villain from The Witcher. We don't even know who the hell it is.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, they want like the concept of masculine heroism and strength given to their heroes and not the villains. And because the heroes are women, they need to make the women's have the stereotypical masculine heroic traits.
but they don't struggle.
Yeah,
See, a hero
exactly.
struggles really
That's true.
hard. But these new ones, it's like, no, they just win every time, yet somehow the villains still win.
I rewatched Into the Spider-Verse the other night.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. And the things that they did great with is how much Miles Morales struggles and he has to go through this learning arc to be a hero. It's like...
He's not just a Mary Sue.
He's not just a Mary Sue.
Yeah. And like, people don't just like him for no reason,
Yeah.
They kind of dislike him to begin with. And then he shows himself to be a reliable guy just trying to help. And they start liking him.
And they belittled Peter Parker, but not completely. He was going through a rough time in Spider-Verse, but he's also the guy that knows how... He's jokey, but he knows... And in the end, he's the one who's like going to sacrifice himself, where... They need to send everyone back there in the universe, but they need someone to stay behind to actually send them and press the button. And Miles isn't talented enough. He doesn't have the merit to risk his life in doing this. And so this Peter Parker says, I'm going to be staying behind. And so even though they have him overweight and stuff, he's still doing the hero stuff.
Well, dude, it was the perfect representation of men in 2020. Single, overweight, depressed.
Cynical.
This is why we need to start warfare again.
No, there was a really cool, distinct arc in Peter Parker's Into the Spider-Verse. He was afraid to have children, but his arc in helping Miles Morales achieve and learn and everything like that makes him realize he could be a dad. And at the very end, like when Miles comes in and saves everyone and everything, they're like, great. And he sounds like, I think I could be a father. It's just like, there was actually a distinct arc for him that worked really well. And he stepped up mostly in helping, Miles learn. So anyway, I'm getting distracted. But my prediction is that they will make at least one or more orc/goblins, or even... I'll say, I think going too broad is a bit of a cop-out. If I say just any bad person, I'm going to say no, specifically orcs or villains, as sympathetic or understandable, or that it's not wholly their fault for the way they are.
I don't think that they'll definitely do the oppressed narrative.
The oppressed?
No doubt. They will do that. Nathan, would you want to get your first word in for the video on your predictions?
Just trying to think of I think what's going to happen long term, really far out, they're going to go on their big windy journey to try to say all the stuff, all the gender things they want, and then at the end they're going to try and shoehorn it back get back to the Lord of the Rings and have it all make sense, but it's not going to work.
They did that with The Witcher. It's the same thing every time. They operate under the same principles, they'll produce the same outcome. You will know them by their fruits.
Anything more specific?
It's going to be a trans person.
All right, so there's going to be a trans person in it.
It's going to be exactly the same as Wheel of Time.
That's too broad. Something more specific.
But that's the thing. The specific points are...
Everything like Wheel of Time is like so many different things.
No. Can I? Okay, you know how we asked for your one scary story when you're at the party, and you're like, no, I have so many because they were all good for you. My points are they will have weak villains because for that reason, like they can't.
I like that one. Can we use that one? The weak you.
But there's more than that one.
Well,
They're
I
all
will
equal.
still give you credit if you get more things right. But the big one that I want to focus on: weak villains.
Sure.
This is just for my own thing.
Villains who don't actually win, but still somehow win. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Like look at Star Wars, right? Look at Kylo Ren: The First Order. First thing that we see happen, their planet gets destroyed, right?
But they're still in power.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with that next movie. It's ridiculous. So that's what's it's the same thing every time.
Alrighty. Well, there's been a very interesting discussion.
I'm so angry.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.